Hello, hello, hello. It's Lydia Diamond, and this is Tea Talk. I want to introduce these wonderful people. First, I have Winnie Wilkinson of Hey Neighbour, Hey, to my right, and Leif. Hello, hello, welcome back. And look who's here is Andrew Chalnick!
I came.
Beautiful Marissa.
Sherri.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for showing up.
Thank you.
Did you, was I too loud?
You're good.
Okay.
I got spirit.
I got excited. Like, Andrew's here. No, he didn't make it last month, but he's here today, baby. And one of the things we need to talk about is last month, when I celebrated, no, it wasn't last month, it was March, when I celebrated Women's History Month, right after the chaos on Dorset Street, March 11th. And so, at the last episode of Tea Talk, I read Andrew's letter or note that he sent me, which started out so lovely, and then crash, bang, when we get to the end. You know, I think the politician jumped out, you know, and I want to pinch him and make him be quiet, but, you know, we didn't get that far. Yeah. But I appreciate you showing up today, Andrew. And one of the things that you said in your response to the Women's Day History Month event, you loved how we started out, you know, the goodness of the Women's History Month episode, but then when you got to the end of your message, you talked about the harm to the community, the misinformation, and so I want to give you a chance to address, like you said, you'd be willing to talk
Absolutely.
about what you felt was misinformation, because I don't do misinformation.
Yeah.
I cuss a lot. You know? I try to get it right the first
Not
time.
intentional, Lydia.
You know, but I was offended by what you said.
I don't
in
mean
the
to
end.
offend you. No.
I mean, it hurt my feelings again.
No, I don't want to hurt your feelings.
But you hurt my feelings earlier this year. Let me just let you know. You hurt my feelings earlier this year when you told me you couldn't support me running for South Burlington City Council because you promised your friend Beth that you would support her. And I was like, you know, and I got over it, you know, but it hurt.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And then, you know, like, then Women's History come around, and here I am trying to lift my sisters up, you know, and have a good time. And the chaos on Dorset Street was just out of control, you know. And I was triggered by seeing the cop toss the lady down to the ground like she was a piece of trash, you know. So I had to turn my phone off after that, you know. But I am not just of the people, I am the people, you know. A lot of people know me as being part of their community. What you about to sing a song?
One second. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to start that yet. You keep going.
Well, I am the people, you know. I've been advocating for people for years, children, the unseen, the unheard, and not just because they need it, but because I need it as well, you know. So when you say something like, you can't support me because you promised your friend, I would feel like, well, damn, I'm not your friend anymore? What the hell, Andrew?
All right. So you and I, Lydia, bonded over this song. You remember that? At Barnes and Nobles?
Open up your heart and open up your mind. Open up your spirit and guess what you will find instead of us.
I remember.
I'm always focused on the enemy. You'll see that your enemy is just like you and me. The world is one country and mankind is citizens. Time to come together, y'all. All 7 billion. Turn war into peace. Turn hate into love. Turn your frown into a smile. Go give somebody a
Hug. So that's where I want to start this message out, because I love your message of positivity and love, and I feel like we're kindred spirits in that, right? And I feel like, you know, we're all the same. We're all the same. We all want our children to do well, to be happy. We all want to live well. We all want to be happy and healthy. We want the community to thrive. We're all the same, and you and I are the same like that, and we fight for the same things. We may have differences of how to get there, right? But I think our goals are exactly the same. And I know we shared that, and we shared that song, right? We shared that song.
I remember that song,
Yeah,
and it's a phenomenal song. I
Yeah.
appreciate
and
that.
That's the spirit that infuses me as I approach, the things that I'm, as a city councilor, the things that I have to kind of figure out, right, in the community. Complicated things sometimes that we got to figure out. Let's put aside the election, because we can talk about that a different
Oh,
time.
I'm good. I'm so happy I'm in Burlington now,
I do want to talk about March 11th, because look, that was a really, really complicated, difficult event with trauma on all sides. I was there. I just want to say I was there that day.
Okay, I didn't know
and
that.
I witnessed everything that happened, and it was tremendously traumatic for everyone that was there, witnessing public safety officers apparently doing what police always do, right? Being brutal, assisting ICE, getting in there, ripping families apart, being overly aggressive, way overly aggressive, as you just said, with the woman with throw down, right? Completely, excessive use of force. I'm not making a legal conclusion, but you witness it, right? Just inappropriate. And I totally get how people perceive that event as just another in a series of, brutal actions by police across the country against the community. I get that. But I want to share my perspective as a city councilor, someone who spent a lot of time actually talking with our police chief that day, speaking with our deputy chief and understanding what they were trying to accomplish. So trying to share with your community, share with the panel here and the audience their perspective. Why were they there? What were they doing? Okay? Now, they were caught off guard by
The police?
by the feds.
ICE?
By ICE. Right? They were
Feds.
caught off guard. They didn't know that ICE was coming to our community that day. They didn't know ICE was going to engage in a car chase. They didn't know ICE was going to be bringing all these forces, right? There was no coordination. Okay. So they were in a situation where ICE said, we're going to get a warrant, and we're going into that house, and we're going to get those people, come hell or high water. And they weren't going to back down. ICE was not backing down. And we had all these community members there that were also not backing down, that were prepared valiantly and courageously to put their bodies and their safety between the people in the house and between ICE. In that volatile situation, our local police faced a choice what to do. Should they do nothing and let ICE come in, guns a-blazing, or should they do something to try and minimize to the best they could in a really volatile situation the potential safety risks? They chose the latter. And the way that they chose to do that was to separate the people from ICE so that ICE would not have to use force to go in and do what they were going to do. Not to assist ICE, not to help ICE. They made clear, our police chief made clear, they were no way, their purpose was not to assist ICE. Their purpose was to do what they could to minimize the public safety risk.
You know what I was thankful for that day? I was thankful nobody died.
No one died, and there were some injuries, but they weren't life-threatening injuries. No one was shot. No one was shot. No one was shot, right? And we didn't have what happened in Minneapolis, right? And I think that's attributable to the actions of our local police in minimizing the public safety risk that day. So, yeah.
I have some questions for you.
Yeah.
Why did the police have only two choices? Why didn't they have choices to actually take ICE under custody for breaking the law, violating the Constitution many times that day?
Yeah.
They chose not to. And then also, why did the police and yourselves as city councils kind of brush that under the rug and blame the people there for standing up against the destruction of our Constitution, for standing up for our neighbors, for standing up for humanity?
Yeah.
So that is a big issue.
Yeah.
That
So, you know, I'm not going to argue with you about whether what ICE did that day was. They had a criminal warrant signed by a Vermont.
they did.
Signed by a Vermont judge, reviewed by local Vermont officers, and.
But it was
It was
invalid.
not.
The warrant was valid for the person that was named.
So
when they
that was not
got
until
there,
later in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And so the South Burlington police officers knew ahead of time that they had no judicial warrant, that they only had a civil warrant, and they also knew that the person that they were trying to capture, to kidnap, was not in the car and was not in the home. And yet the police
No one knew
officer...
that until after.
Nope, that is not true.
Yeah.
So the police officers made decisions to help ICE do a civil arrest. And that is what they did. We
So
have
they didn't. So I know,
documentation
yeah.
of them assisting ICE with pain control. We have documentation of the police assisting ICE to let them in the house and to block the door so nobody else can get in. No police officer asked who was coming out of the house and if they were on the warrant.
Yeah. So look, the local police cannot second guess whether ICE is executing the criminal warrant they got appropriately. They don't have that ability at that moment to make those kind of decisions. Those are decisions that need to be made in court. They don't. Our local police don't know what the federal standards are. They don't know what reasonable cause ICE has. They don't know what facts ICE has. They're not in that position to, I guess what you're suggesting, to stop ICE from doing what ICE is doing. They can't do that. If they were to do that, honestly, that would start a civil war. I can't imagine what would happen if the local police were in opposition to the federal police. That would give an opportunity for this crazy administration to send in the military to a democratic city if they were to do that.
So you're
That's
saying that the
crazy.
police can just do
If
whatever
the police-
they want in
if the
order to
police
allow
witness-
the federal government to
No.
take anyone they want?
No, this again.
That
this
is what
a
you're saying.
I'm not saying that. No, they had a criminal warrant to go into the house. When they executed that criminal warrant, the local police are not in a position to second guess whether that federal agency has reasonable cause, what facts they know. That kind of adjudication is not, the moment is not amenable for that kind of adjudication. That adjudication has to happen afterwards in the courts, as it did appropriately, and the folks that were taken were released by the judge appropriately so.
Okay, Andrew, with all due respect, and I'm just going to quote you. You were there all day. Is that correct?
That's correct. Most of the day, yeah.
Okay, so let's define it. You said you were there
I
at the
got
beginning.
there about
That you
2:30.
were there for the whole
And I
thing.
left about 6:30. Yeah.
So you weren't there for the whole day. Well, let me fill you in on some of the factual evidence before you got there. Number one, the mysterious wanted immigrant was never in the area. Fact. There was never a car accident. Fact. They did not know who was living in the house, the occupants of the house, the residents of the house. Fact. They did not have a warrant signed by a federal judge. Fact. The community is the ones who demand that they only could even execute whatever they were trying to execute with a federal warrant signed by a federal judge. Fact.
No.
Well, the
Nice.
our police chief told us that there was a federal warrant signed by a judge, reviewed by Vermont state officials.
her
No,
continue.
that is incorrect. And again, the misleading statements and misrepresentation of what happened is where the problem is in the community. I'm a civil rights activist and a humanitarian for more than 39 years. And I am alarmed that our law enforcement will try to do the most cover your ass situation in something that, if they're honest, we won't be having this dialogue until now. They should not be covering their asses at this point. Open it and let's have an open discussion. The beginning of this was not documented the way that it happened. Period. Facts.
Tell them about migrant justice videos.
Exactly. Migrant justice videos is not altered. It's the raw material. However, when the very police chief that you're relying on, obviously the videos are cut and sliced. We in the industry know when a video is cut and sliced. And he also made the stuff that the batteries wasn't working. Some of the with the confusion, their videos went off. Very convenient. Let me be clear. I lived in New York City before I came here and deal with the cops quite a bit in different situations. Whenever the body camera is tampered with, it's a questionable transaction. It's a cover your ass, period.
So I've been, I was there from about 8:30 in the morning.
Introduce yourself, babe.
I'm Leif. I use they, them pronouns. I'm a community organizer. Yeah, I was there since about 8:30 in the morning until the evening. And I've also been part of the project that has combed through all of the footage. So we've had thousands and thousands of hours of combined, because many, if you look at one video, you see everyone else in the video also has a camera. So that adds up pretty quick. So we've been watching all of that footage, combing through all of it. Now that the body cam footage has come out, we've combed a majority of that. The BPD footage just came out, so we haven't gone through all of it, but collectively we've gone through most of all the footage that exists that we've had access to again. Like you were saying, some of it has been conveniently
Redacted.
deleted or redacted. So a couple things is you're talking about from 2:30 onward. I see how if you showed up at 2:30, it could look like the thing you're talking about of the police responding to a chaotic situation, trying to, make it get less bad. But the situation that you came into at 2 p.m. was already bad because of things police had chosen to do or not do. So when I got there at about 8:30, there were about a handful of us on site. There were about 4 or 5 ICE agents, and then Deputy Chief Briscoe was there and a couple other SBPD. And when they've testified, they said that they were responding to a call from ICE, which already something's wrong, because they're not supposed to. If they got a car accident report, they are supposed to show up. But at that point, once the car accident is dealt with, they should not be assisting ICE anymore. They should have left. But then ICE was asking them to stick around because they had security concerns, because there were upset neighbors who were upset that there was ICE there. I saw Deputy Chief Briscoe before there had been at this point there was no warrant at all. I verbally heard him ask, is there a warrant? I said yes, they meant a civil warrant. He knew that. He knew that civil warrant does not require him to be involved. Many of us were informing him of this repeatedly because we're trained legal observers, and so, or community rights activists. So then, when he came over and he told the ICE agent Johnston that he would try to get all the activists off of the property. This was before there was a warrant. We had permission to be there from the people who lived there, from the landlord who was there. And he said, I'm going to try to get these people off. And we said, you can't do that. This ICE agent is trespassing. He does not have a warrant. They had parked their cars in the private driveway of the residence where the landlord did not want them parked. The landlord had to tell Deputy Chief Briscoe that he wanted us there and not the ICE agents. And at that point, the police did not ask the ICE agents to leave. They stopped asking us to leave, which took some negotiating, as I'm just saying, but then they continued to allow the ICE agents to be there, despite that they were on private property without a warrant. And so that went on for a really long time. And we have screenshots of photos people have taken of Officer Johnston of ICE's phone, and he is texting his commanders saying that they might have to pull out if they don't get backup from more cops. So what should have happened at that point, once the South Burlington police realized that they didn't have a warrant and didn't have permission to be on the property, is they should have said, you're not supposed to be here, we're leaving, and stopped helping them. If they really wanted to keep an eye to make sure an ICE agent didn't shoot someone, they could have, watched from further back. Instead, what they did was continuing to check in, wander around, and prolong the situation. So more and more ICE agents were showing up from New Hampshire, from Massachusetts, New York. Those New Hampshire agents immediately upon arriving started trying to attack people. At that point, the South Burlington police came back and were after the ICE agent had already attacked someone, it had been de-escalated by community members, no one was touching each other, then South Burlington police came back and said, okay, we're gonna call in the stadies because this is getting volatile. Again, at that point, they could have just left and said, the community members have got it, they're de-escalating, the ICE agents are causing problems, we're gonna observe. So around then is when, this is around midday, this is when the command center was established in the South Burlington City Council. This is when the state troopers got called in. Mm-hmm. And then what we know is through most of the video, there are several instances of South Burlington police shoving people, holding people down with ICE officers. But the majority of the police brutality was from both the ICE tactical team that came in later and from the state trooper tactical team, which came in later. And so by staying on site for that long, they let all those agents build up. So all of a sudden, instead of 4 agents and a bunch of community members protecting from a warrantless raid, you've got dozens of agents. You've got state troopers who are now have been called in by South Burlington police, asked to help. They called in Burlington police, who are the ones who were throwing people to the ground unprovoked. And so they called in, and we get a build up in force that coincided very conveniently with the timeline of getting the judicial criminal warrant, which wasn't signed, I believe, until like almost 4 p.m. was the time that it was actually signed. So all until then, ICE had no permission to be there. And they're allowing this buildup of forces to happen. They're allowing ICE agents to attack people and then not get reprimanded for it. And then by the time that the warrant is signed, again, we know Colton Rowley lied. So was it a legally signed warrant by a judge? Yes. Was it valid? Absolutely not. Multiple court cases have proved that. Multiple judges have said that it wasn't a valid warrant, that the raid wasn't valid. And so basically the South Burlington police allowed this buildup of tension to accrue all day until the point where ICE decided that they were just gonna, and they knew, like there are videos of South Burlington police saying, ICE is saying they're gonna do this violent thing. And so if I know you believe that they're trying to prevent people from getting hurt, but no one got shot cannot be the floor of this, that is not a good enough situation. There were life-threatening injuries. A young woman's throat was crushed until she passed out. There were several other people who the state police used illegal holds on. So yeah, I can see if you came in at 2 once that command center was already up and all of these forces were already building up, the South Burlington police at that point were kind of just there, which is what they had been doing the whole time in a way that let this situation happen. So I don't think that they were blameless at all. I think that their choices really are what let this whole situation happen.
Exactly. They were, they are accessories to that misery that happened on that day. And seeing that you're on the town council, all the time you were speaking, I'm thinking, taxpayer dollars. Can you just give us an estimate of how much it costs taxpayer money for that March 11, 2026? Chaotic, unauthorized.
March 11th? Oh, baby. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
what it costs? How much was
how much it costs the taxpayers?
For overtime? For police?
Period.
I mean, I think it would just be overtime, but it's not been quantified. I don't know. And maybe someone's quantified. I don't know.
People really love those numbers because, I mean, this is like, who moved the cheese? Every time when you think you get close to the cheese, it's like, oh, we didn't get to that as yet. Oh, it's like this is straight cut. Accounting is accounting. 1 and 1 is 2 no matter how you divide it up.
Yeah.
And the taxpayers should know how much that unauthorized whole day of, is it how much, 10 hours?
No, it was like more like 12 or 13.
13 hours cost taxpayers. All because,
That's a big bill.
right, and all because our local law enforcement then had the balls, whoops,
To say no.
to say no and no, do the right thing, like what the police, was how you name it, what the police, the local police supposed to follow these rules and regulations. The
The fair and impartial police.
fair and impartial policing. Ugh, so much in my brains. Yeah. After our local police did not follow that, and they decided they're going to try to show that they have gumption or they're very egotistical behavior, cost the taxpayers a lot of money. No taxes should be raised, and all that money should be refunded by the federal government back to the local coppers. Period.
And you have a slideshow of that information and much more, because I sent it to you via email on April 18th. That documents 100%.
I might send it to Burlington because I know you,
No,
you
I
showed
sent
up
it
to
to
the
you.
council and said you sent it. It wasn't in my email, but okay. But if you could send it again, we appreciate it.
I'd be happy to.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, because I sent it on April 18th to every single South Burlington City Council member,
Yeah.
as well as you. And it has a slideshow that delineates exactly everything that
And
Leif
I
has
watched that
said
slideshow
and
when you
more.
presented it at Burlington too.
Yeah, this is
that was
expanded.
a smaller
Compact.
version.
Yeah.
Because we, in many of the times we've been trying to share like public comment, or Migrant Justice was able to present a lot of the slideshow. They focused on the Burlington police in that presentation because they were at Burlington. We were never invited to present to South Burlington, so we've never gotten the opportunity to publicly show all of the evidence we have on South Burlington in particular.
Well,
There
we should
is
do
quite
that.
a lot.
Yeah, we should do that.
I
Look, I
would
love
love-
that you've assembled a great panel here to talk us through. We obviously have divergent perspectives on what happened, and so this community discussion is really important. And we're not going to reconcile this in one discussion.
yes.
It's
Well,
gonna
no,
take,
I
it is going to
appreciate-
take multiple rounds. And I will say one thing that South Burlington is planning to engage in is exactly that. So we reached out to Migrant Justice. I don't know if your panelists are aware, for that kind of off
I'm
camera.
not aware, so I need an invite.
Yeah, well,
because I'd
we
love
want
to have.
No, we want to keep that. We're going to have multiple sessions, but we want to start small. Let's see if we can agree on some things. Let's see if we agree on a process. Let's see if we agree on a framework. How do we have discussions? How do we try and figure out exactly what a common understanding of facts? Can we get there? Can we agree on a common understanding of timeline, of fact? Can we then, begin to build on that? Because it's what I wrote to you that was harmful to the community is disagreement on facts and what happened. And I'm not saying my version is absolutely correct, but I'm saying we need to discuss this and we need to have a common understanding, because it's not, the community needs to have a public safety force that the community respects, that the community believes is on their side. If there's tension there, the community is weaker. And I think we need to figure out how we arrive back at that point through discussions like this.
Well, can I ask what you perceive as doing that, since it seems, in my opinion, the South Burlington City Council members and the police officers have not been willing to listen previously. So I'm just wondering what you would anticipate would be different in these discussions upcoming that would promote listening and community engagement, community
Okay.
discussion.
Well, I mean, we have had a couple of city council meetings where we heard a lot. Now, the city council meetings are not really conducive to this kind of back and forth discussion. So you may not have perceived that we were listening, but we were listening. But you can't have this kind of back and forth at where you have a dais and you have people that have 2 minutes to speak. It's just not conducive to that. So what we're engaging on is kind of off camera roundtables like this, and I think Wednesday is our first one, where we're going to have this kind of back and forth discussion to kind of facilitate understanding.
Can I ask you a question? Why off camera?
Look, I mean, that's a question that we wrestled with, and we may decide that maybe on camera is better, but I think the perspective is that people may feel freer to talk, may feel freer to emote, may feel freer to say what's really on their mind, and it just may facilitate discussion. It may not. I mean, I'm not saying that this is.
Andrew, with all due respect, again, I respect your perspective. If we already having all these differences of opinions in something that was already videotaped and documented pages, and we have a problem, could you imagine if there's a round table without it being documented?
Well, look, it may well be that on camera turns out to be better. Let's see how this works, right? Let's see how it works. Let's see how the discussion goes. And maybe at the end of the discussion, everyone's like, you know what, this didn't work. It didn't work. We need to do it different. And that'd be fine.
Well, one of the things that I would like to see, I'm sorry, you was the one to say something,
That's
baby?
okay, honey. What is it that you anticipate you would like to see from the outcome with these talks? So you've had 2 months as a city council member to discuss this on your own, to hopefully get more appropriate information. What is it that you would like to see?
Yeah.
And
so
how
we are
can you
gonna
make your
have,
communities
we are
safer
going to have
and better?
a facilitator there, right, to kind of help
And who's that gonna
bridge differences. I have it's a UVM professor that was suggested by Migrant Justice. I just don't have the name on top of my head.
Well, I like that you've had conversations with Migrant Justice.
Yeah.
Because they bring a lot to the
They
table.
do. And the facilitator is going to help set out the agenda. In my mind, the first thing is, can we ground ourselves on some common facts? You know, was the warrant valid? Was there a warrant? Was there a signed warrant? You know, let's get what was the timeline, right? What did people know? What people didn't know? Let's get a common set of facts, because facts should be easy. There's a lot of documentation out there, right? Perception is going to be much harder, you know, but if we start with the grounding of facts and move to perception, like perhaps we can get some common ground there too. And it's not going to be just one discussion. It will have to be a series of discussion to get there, because there's a lot of trauma on both sides, and there's a lot of anger. And I mean, I know there's an anger in the community, but I can tell you that the police also are emotionally traumatized. There's a lot on both sides here.
I disagree with that. Oh,
Well,
baby.
so that's
And let me just-
to be discussed.
Let me just say why. And it's because I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, born and raised. And I've been here half my life now. And I've never had a good situation with the police. And, you know, a small situation, a big situation, it's never been good. And what I see that the police have always done is, it doesn't matter if you've been convicted or if you're guilty, you just need to be a poor person or a woman or a black person, and the police treat you like trash, like you're not a human being. And I want to ask them to their face, is that what they teaching you?
Look,
Because it's wrong.
Lydia, I've seen the same things that you've seen. It's tragic. It's the videos over the years of police brutality against people of color it aches the soul.
Yeah, man.
And I get the trauma of seeing that you're bringing to March 11th, that you're bringing to the actions of South Burlington Police. I understand that lens, and this is what we all need to talk about, because I know the folks in our police force, and they are not the people committing the atrocities that you're seeing. They're not. And I'd love to arrange a conversation with you and them as well. You know, I think that would be a really helpful thing, because, again, as I said, it weakens the community when there's public safety here and the community here, and when the community doesn't perceive our public safety professionals as helping and wanting to lift up the community. It does, and I get the perspective that you're bringing, And I really hope we can change that for Vermont, for South Burlington, and for Burlington.
Well, if you want to bring some strength to the conversation, you need to bring some black women.
So what?
I said, if he wants to bring some strength to the conversation, he needs to bring some black women. No, I'm dead serious.
The last time I checked, I am black, and I'm the one who made the statement that prompted you to write that note. And again, I stand by my statement. For the male officers that manhandle the women, I would not like to see them if I'm in a domestic situation. Because if you could beat a woman, you can't come and tell me that my man can't beat me or my partner can't beat me, because you do beat women.
And I am not here to defend what you're referring to at all. I mean, I saw what you saw, and it was atrocious, and I'm not here to defend that.
Yes, but keep in mind that these are the people that still got their gun, their badge, their license, and roaming the streets, and may get a domestic violence call.
Yep.
How can we rely on obviously
Yes.
a faulty mechanism
Yes.
to give a justified or balanced opinion about the domestic violence situation? They beat women.
And they also have a defective mentality when it comes to public safety. For who?
For ICE.
No, fuck ICE.
Fuck ICE.
Fuck ICE, fuck the fuck the police. Because if they say they're here to serve and protect, but who are they serving and protecting? How you gonna take a woman and toss her on the ground like she a piece of shit? That hurt, man. That's not public safety. That's violence against women, and I don't appreciate it. I'm gonna calm down. But we do have to wrap up. I love you guys. Really, I'm a person who chooses to love first, you know, and I might let you cross certain lines, you know, but I always want to bring love to the forefront, because God, this world would be a better place
Can I play this again to wrap up?
if we could
Let
love
me make one statement.
Has the statement.
And we all have to coexist to exist, period.
True.
Black,
Yes.
brown, white, pink.
Purple and polka dot, okay?
Here we go.
And so Leif has a statement
Yeah.
first.
Absolutely.
So, I think you're right that there's been a lot of misinformation. And in my experience, the majority of the misinformation has been coming from the police.
Yes.
And, like, if you want to look at the evidence we've gathered, would love for you to see it. I think that there's this thing that's happening where politicians are not thinking critically about the things the police are saying, and are just believing their statements, their reports, because they're on fancy letterhead. They have a lot of definitions of laws that, I'm not a lawyer, but I've done a lot of legal support work. Some of their ideas of what the law is just wrong. Like, it's just not correct. And so you have this situation where police are being treated as the default fact bearers of the situation, and they are misremembering things. They're conveniently remembering things in a way that is not accurate. I believe some of the things are just full-on lies. And so we can't have a dialogue about this if the police are treated as objective and people are treated as faulty. It's just not going to work.
So what I would love
yeah.
to do, I would sit down with you for as much time as you want and go through each thing point by point by point and see where we come out. I'd be totally willing to do that with you.
Cool. Yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah.
But that's why we made this slideshow, is because we want that to
It's
happen.
really important.
So-
It's
And
really
we
important. Let's
wanna-
go through it. Let's go through it really slowly and carefully and see where the differences are.
And we want to come together
Yes.
to
We
complement
want to
each
come
other.
together. That's so
And
important.
It is. It really is. And I believe that we can
Community
do
be
better.
strong.
If we come together and have a good, wholesome conversation, we might not agree on everything, but we can basically make an attempt to take good steps forward.
Yes.
You know where I'd love to come out, and we may not get there. At least we can disagree on, the effects of what happened. But if we can agree that everyone there was in good faith trying to do the right thing, that would be real. I don't know if we'll get there, but that's where I'd love to get.
Let me tell you what makes it very hard for me. The Minnesota shooting made it
Renee
very,
Brown?
yes, it made it very hard for me. And I still struggle with that, you know. So forgive me if I cuss a lot, you know. I mean,
Taranta, you know South Burlington condemned that, you know, in extreme terms.
I want to tell
mean,
y'all I greatly appreciate everybody.
One second. One second. One second. We can
Change the world. We can change the world. We can change the world. We can change the world.
To others as you have done to you, cause change in the world starts with the golden rule. We gotta celebrate diversity and show love universally, cause everyone on earth is part of one community. Black, white, red, tan, rich, poor, woman, man,
Come on.
atheist, Christian, Muslim, Jew, Baha'i, Buddhist, Sikh, or Hindu. What if you were judged for the language that you spoke? What kind of feelings do you think it would evoke to keep us down because of your race and face religious persecution? Time to
Oh my gosh, shout out.
go.
Shout out to Farine Paris. Today is Haitian Flag Day.
Yeah.
Yay! Farine, we miss you, baby. Thank you for that. And could you text me so I could listen more?
Absolutely.
Because I do like the song. I remember you sharing it with me that day we met at Barnes and Nobles. It's a great song. So let's change the world.
Let's change the world, Lydia.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what? Forums like this are really important starts to do that, and I really appreciate it. And I appreciate all the perspectives.
Yeah.
So let's keep talking, and please let's get together. Happy to offer the same to you. Happy, you know, to let's just talk because this is hard. There's a lot to digest.
Yes.
And you need to go slow.
I want
Right.
to hear about after you meet with Kevin Bloom. I want to know what you think because I really think he's
He's going to be here tomorrow.
a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
You know, who can't
looking
use
forward.
a young person with some new ideas?
Yeah.
You know, let him fall and trip and bust his ass.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
at
yeah.
least he tried something different to keep children from being homeless.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks for doing the show, Lydia.
Yeah.
Thank you for showing up.
Yeah.
And thank you for coming.
Right into the fire.
I literally had your note on the chair empty. Your note on the chair. Significant that you didn't show up.
This is the best conversation about Dorset Street I've been able to be a part of, and I think that's credit to you.
Yeah.
Thank you
you,
for
Lydia.
this space.
Thank
And
you.
so
Queen
all the
Lydia.
ones that you're setting up, you will learn from Miss Lydia's wisdom and how she creates space for community dialogue. Because you're
love
the
it.
one who made this possible. So
It's true.
Yes.
Well, thank you,
Yeah,
and
thank
I
you.
greatly appreciate. I don't want the chaos. I want
Yeah.
peace.
Yeah, me
I want
peace.
peace. I want love. I want good food.
Yeah.
You know, and I want my community to embrace the love for one another, because we
Amen.
all have, you know, heavy things going on in our lives, but we need a little bit of goodness sometimes.
Yeah.
You know. So thank you all.
Amen, Lydia.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Lydia.
Thank you, Queen Lydia.
Excited. Yeah.